How much money does it really take to be considered lower class, middle class, or upper class in the United States? Today, we're breaking down the actual income numbers, what they mean per hour, and what life really looks like in each group. You might be surprised where you fall. According to recent data from Money Digest, the income brackets for a typical household of three fall into three broad categories. Households earning less than approximately $55,000 per year are considered lower income. Those earning between $55,000 and $164,000 per year fall into the middle class range, and households earning $164,000 or more per year are generally considered upper class. Keep in mind, those earning only $164,000 are just barely breaking the surface of the upper class, which is uncapped. These figures are based on the national median household income, which currently sits around $82,000. The middle class is typically defined as those making between roughly 2/3 and twice that median income. Let's break these income numbers down into hourly wages, because a lot of people think in terms of what they make per hour, not per year. At the lower end, a $55,000 income works out to about $27.50 per hour for a single earner. But if that's a combined household income with two people working, each is only making about $13.75 per hour, which isn't exactly high pay. The middle class range between $55,000 and $164,000 breaks down to roughly $27.50 per hour to $82 an hour for a single person. In a two-income household split evenly, it means they're both earning anywhere from $13.75 to $41 per hour. At the upper class level, anything above $164,000, a single earner is making at least $82 per hour. But if two people are bringing in that same total, each would be earning about $41 per hour. Still solid, but very different from a single high-income professional. For lower-income households, living paycheck to paycheck is often the reality. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that the money in your bank account barely covers the rent, utilities, groceries, and transportation for the week ahead. Many of these families rent small apartments or modest homes, often in neighborhoods where amenities and safety might be limited. There's little room in the budget for extras, no vacations, little dining out, and rarely a chance to save. Every bill feels like part of an ongoing balancing act. The electric bill here, gas there, groceries that probably aren't nutritious. The household might share one or two older cars that aren't exactly in the best condition and require frequent repairs. The stress is constant, affecting not just the wallet, but also mental and physical well-being. The feeling of financial fragility colors almost every choice, from what they buy to how they plan for the future, because for many, the future feels uncertain. Moving up into the middle class usually means having a little more breathing room, but it's not all smooth sailing. People here are kind of stuck in the middle. They've got enough to buy decent stuff, but not quite enough to live the upper class life. The tricky part is that they often get caught in a debt cycle. They have just enough money and credit to make big purchases, like cars or new furniture, but not really enough to afford them without racking up debt. Many own a home or are working hard to pay the mortgage, and plenty have large car payments and are trying to save something for retirement. Picture a busy family juggling school runs, extracurriculars, and worrying about how to save for college. The paycheck might be steady, but that doesn't mean the stress goes away. Losing a job is a real fear, and it could mess everything up. Middle-class folks often have to budget carefully, trying to keep up with the day-to-day bills while also thinking about long-term goals, like saving for trips, college, or retirement. Vacations might not be fancy or frequent, but at least they happen, and any little luxuries usually come after some planning or sacrifice. Even though they have more security and options than lower-income households, a lot of middle-class families still feel the pinch from rising prices in an uncertain economy, so things can still feel pretty shaky at times. At the top end, upper-class households have the ability to live a pretty different financial world. Starting around $164,000 per year, which can go way higher, it's not always insanely rich, but it usually means having enough extra cash to invest in things that grow in value over time. These families are often able to pay off their mortgages sooner, put substantial money into retirement accounts like IRAs and 401ks, and they might have other investments bringing in income beyond just their regular paychecks. Picture a life where money choices aren't about making ends meet, but about choices. Vacations don't have to be just a quick weekend getaway or a budget road trip, but planned trips abroad or longer stays. Retirement here is about building a legacy and protecting wealth, not just getting by. This group has more freedom to follow their passions, donate to causes they care about, and enjoy leisure without constantly stressing over bills or emergencies. Sure, they have their own worries, like keeping their wealth intact, handling estates, or dealing with social expectations, But having that financial cushion means they can live a life with more options and experiences. For many in this class, wealth opens doors and creates opportunities that just aren't available to most people, giving them both comfort and influence. Higher income earners aren't always smart with their money though. Even though their earnings are higher, a lot of them are irresponsible and are living above their means, so a decent income doesn't translate to wealth. Strong financial health often has way less to do with how much you earn and much more to do with how you manage what you have. A multi-six-figure income doesn't guarantee security if it's paired with high debt and reckless spending. On the other hand, a household earning $60,000 per year can be in great shape if they keep a smart budget, avoid unnecessary upgrades, and focus on long-term goals. Many people with average incomes have built real stability, paying off their homes, avoiding credit card debt, and steadily investing for the future, simply by living within their means. To put this into perspective, imagine two families each earning $75,000 per year. One has a very low or no mortgage on a simple home that's inexpensive to maintain with low taxes, no credit card debt, unimpressive cars owned outright, and they diligently contribute to their retirement savings. As a result, they have a large amount of equity in their home with very low monthly housing expenses, manageable transportation costs, and snowballing investments that are earning more in 1 year than they are working. The other is drowning in car loans because they can't stand to keep a vehicle for more than a few years, large high-interest credit card balances from last year's vacation, and an expensive apartment downtown, completely maxing out their budget. Despite identical incomes, their financial realities couldn't be more different. That's why income alone doesn't tell the whole story. Now consider two different individuals earning the exact same income. On paper, they look identical, same annual salary, same tax bracket, but their work lives could be worlds apart. One might have a steady 9-to-5 job with a predictable routine, employer-sponsored health insurance, paid vacation days, and maybe even a retirement plan. That kind of structure provides not just financial stability, but also a decent amount of personal time and peace of mind. The other, however, might be piecing together multiple part-time jobs or unpredictable shifts, starting a morning gig from 6 a.m. and going until 2 p.m., then catching a quick break before heading off to a second job that runs well into the night. They might be working 6 or even 7 days a week just to stay afloat. That kind of grind wears down on your energy, your health, and your relationships. There's no time to relax, let alone plan for the future. So while their paychecks might look similar at first glance, their day-to-day realities and level of financial stress couldn't be more different. It's not all about income though. Your net worth, and more specifically, how much you have invested and working for you, is often way more important than how much you earn in any given year. Think about it this way. Who's actually better off? A family earning $75,000 per year with $1 million invested that generates $100,000 annually in compounding returns? Or a family pulling in $175,000 per year but spending every last dollar just to maintain their lifestyle? The first household has investments that grow passively, generating exponential returns over time. With average market gains, their $1 million portfolio could double to $2 million in about 7 years, and reach $4 million in roughly 14, without adding a single extra dollar, not factoring in inflation. The one with a higher income might look successful on the surface, but is essentially living paycheck to paycheck on a higher scale. Income determines how much you bring in, but net worth shows how well you're actually building wealth. Where you live really changes how far your money goes too, and how middle class you actually feel. For example, in pricey states like Massachusetts, you might need a lot more to be middle class. But even in cheaper places, costs like housing and groceries can still squeeze your budget. Take two families making $100,000. One paying high housing and daycare in a costly city, the other owning a home in a much cheaper area. They're living very different lives despite the same income. That's why cost of living often matters more than just the number on your paycheck. Also, remember all these numbers are for households, not individuals. An $80,000 income can feel pretty good if you're single, but be stretched thin if you're supporting a family of 5. Understanding income levels can give you a sense of where you stand compared to average, but income alone doesn't tell the whole story. In reality, someone with a modest income can be in a far better financial position than someone making $400,000 per year, and surprisingly often, they are.